can't hear anything. All right. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Midday Sports Show with Rod and the Lunch Crew. I am Chris Dietz, your host for today. Host from the Fifth Down Sports Show, helping Rod out. Rod will be along with us very soon. I am hoping that this is going that I can't really hear anything within anything, but we're gonna attempt to get this going and get into a wild weekend of all sports, especially the NFL and college football. So I want to begin this show by putting you onto where people are at in assessing everything that happened this weekend, from the college football playoff committee, from the college football championship games, and over to the NFL, across all spectrums. The most important thing to understand is that expectations are what drive all of our criticism. And to illustrate this point, we just have to look at the New York Jets on Sunday. The New York Jets lost to the Minnesota Vikings, but everybody says, oh, I see a lot of promise in the Jets. They lost. They kept it close with Minnesota. Okay. They kept it close and they lost to Minnesota, but everybody likes the direction the Jets are going. Why? Because they didn't expect the Jets to be where they are right now. So the expectation is that, we expected the Jets to get blown out and they didn't. So it's okay that they lost. Go back to a week ago on Thanksgiving. The Patriots lose pretty much in the same fashion to the Vikings, the same Vikings team, and the Patriots are done. The Patriots, you can count them out. They're laughable. You can cross them off. Despite the fact that the Patriots have beaten the Jets twice, despite the fact that the Patriots should have beaten the Minnesota Vikings, if not for a random decision on a catch that should have been a catch. But because the expectation of the Patriots is, because the expectations are the Patriots should be a playoff team, and right now they're on the outside looking in, because the expectation is so much, that's where they sit. Everybody's laughing at the Patriots right now. Oh, the Patriots, you're at the bottom of the AFC East. Okay. Well, there's still time to go. Again, the Patriots have beaten the Jets twice. But everybody's encouraged about what they saw from the Jets. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Okay? The Jets lost to a Minnesota Vikings team, and it shows what the Jets really are. That's what the Jets really are. Is they're a decent team. They're not able to beat good teams. That's where the Jets sit right now. But everybody wants to tell you they're inspired by what the Jets. The Jets look better. It's about expectations. That leads me to the college football playoff, where it was about expectations this weekend. People punished USC for playing in a championship game and losing. Meanwhile, Ohio State got to sit at home, do nothing, and make it to the college football playoff because people expected USC to go out and beat Utah. Well, guess what? Utah's a good football team. They proved that by winning the Pac-12 title. They proved that by dominating USC. Now, we saw that happen, and everybody wants to say, well, USC didn't deserve a playoff spot. And that's just flawed thinking. It's the flawed thinking that the college football season has produced. That the college football elites have given themselves the out of, all right, we're going to put our guys in, we're going to put our guys in unless you force us not to. And that's what it was. That's what happened this weekend. That's why Ohio State is in the college football playoff. They're in the college football playoff because people expected them to be where they are. People didn't expect USC to get people that expected, they just expected USC to roll out and take the Pac-12 title. Well, guess what? Utah's a good football team. They proved that. I really don't like this StreamYard right now. It's like 5 seconds behind where I am, so I have to give it time to catch up. But this weekend has proven everything that I have said on this show. It has proven everything that I have said on Fifth Down Sports Show. It has proven everything that I have said on Snowman in the Morning. It has proven everything that I've been saying about championship weekend, and it's completely useless. It is a complete disaster for college football. The championship games this weekend were a complete disaster for college football. I mean, the SEC championship game, I turned it on and it was 35-7. Georgia was throttling LSU, as we all thought they would. Michigan took care of business against Purdue. Do we really care? Did we really expect Purdue to give Michigan a fight? No, we didn't. Nobody expected that. TCU, we expected it to be a close game. We expected it to be what it is. It came down to a goal line stand by Kansas State. And TCU survived and was still allowed to be in the college football playoff. But the game that changed the college football season was Friday night, where USC just got absolutely hampered and beaten down in a game that if they hadn't played, if USC did not play Utah on Friday night, would they be in a college football playoff? Yes, they would. So they were punished for playing a game that was effectively meaningless. They were punished because they had to play, and Ohio State was rewarded because they didn't have to play. Just put that into perspective. Just put that into your head and just ask yourself if that situation makes any sense. You rewarded a team because they didn't have to play, and you punished another team because they did play. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that goes. I mean, that goes against everything that everybody wants to talk about. They want to talk about wins, losses, and all of that. I mean, USC. I don't feel bad for. I don't feel bad for USC. You lost the game. You had a chance. You lost it. I don't feel bad for you. But at the same time, I don't feel any happiness or joy of putting Ohio State into a playoff because they didn't play. That just seems unsportsman to me. It seems it's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. If you're not playing in championship weekend, why are you playing in the playoff? And I have said this before. I said this when Alabama made it a few years ago, and Alabama made the playoff without playing in a conference championship, and Alabama went on to win the national championship that year. So it's not indicative of, all right, this has never happened before. We've seen this before. So this is something that is reoccurring. But this just boldens my perspective. Get rid of conference championship games. They're meaningless, and they ruin what was an entire regular season. You had an entire regular season to look at, and you focused on one game on Friday night. One game Friday night in Vegas where USC was beaten up. USC was beaten. They came into the game hurt. Caleb Williams was hurt during the game. He was not himself. Utah, much respect to Utah. Utah came in and played it, but because Utah didn't have any pressure on them. There was nothing on. Utah wins the game. They win the championship. They had everything on the table. They lose the game, nothing happens to them. Doesn't change their situation at all. So they were playing with house money. And they played like it. They played like they were, throwing caution to the wind. Because we have nothing to lose here. And that's what happened. Now, let me get to the true point. We get to the true point of this, and something that I've been thinking about since Friday night, and I've been saying this all season. I've been saying this for a long time. USC fan, you should be questioning why you have one of the worst coordinators in the history of college football on your staff, and why he continues to get jobs. I don't understand how Alex Grinch is a defensive coordinator. I don't understand how he's a defensive coordinator and how he has failed upwards in his coaching career. This is a guy who started his defensive coordinatorship, started with Washington State under Mike Leach, where his defenses were awful, but Mike Leach's offense was so good that everybody said, it's the offense. The offense doesn't allow the defense to do what they need to do. So then he goes on and he fails upwards at where Washington State didn't really accomplish anything. if you really want to talk about what did Washington State ever accomplish under Alex Grinch? Nothing. So he moves on to be the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma when they were they're still in there, but in the Big 12, where we have said it, the Big 12, where defense is optional. And to go back and look at those Oklahoma teams, yeah, under Lincoln Riley, yeah, they made the playoffs. Go look at when they played high-powered offenses and go look at what happened. I can point to LSU in the college football playoff who put 55 on them. I can go back to many Big 12 games where it was just a shootout and the defense didn't stop anybody. So then Lincoln Riley moves on from Oklahoma and he brings Alex Grinch with him to USC. And go back to the UCLA game. That defense was atrocious. That defense was awful. Yet they won the game because Caleb Williams and the offense was so spectacular. You look at what happened Friday night. Friday night, that USC defense got embarrassed. It was an embarrassing performance. And one play shows it. The tight end catches the ball about 35 yards from the end zone, and he runs over 3 guys in the process. 3 guys decide not to tackle him. The tackling was atrocious. And that's the first part of defense. If you can't tackle people, you can't play defense. So if you're USC right now, if you're a USC fan, yeah, you should feel upset because you should be in the college football playoff. Because you had to play a meaningless game. But if you take an honest look at your team, you should be really looking at putting the blame where it needs to be, and that's on your defensive coordinator. Your defensive coordinator let you down. Your defense let you down. Your defensive coordinator cost you a Pac-12 championship. It costs you a national championship. And if you think this kind of defense is going to play in the Big Ten when USC gets to the Big Ten, you're in for a story, man. You're going to get run through the ringer if you let this kind of defense play in the Big Ten. You're going to get absolutely destroyed. So I would not be shocked. And Lincoln Riley seems to really have a love for the guy, for Alex Grinch. But if you honestly want USC to take it to the next level, you need to get a defensive coordinator in there who can stop teams. That's my take. That's my take on what happened. But again, it comes down, the college football playoff, what comes down is expectations. TCU, we expected a close game. We got a close game. So because they met the expectation, and because they exceeded expectations this year, that's why they're in the college football playoff. Ohio State, because they were just expected to be one of the best teams. Well, that's why they're there. That's why they're in. It all comes down to expectations. And we can keep this theme going all weekend with probably the biggest game that nobody's talking about. Nobody's talking about Cincinnati beating Kansas City. Why? Because Kansas City and Cincinnati, nobody cares. Nobody cares about it. Nobody seems to care that the reigning AFC champions beat what everybody thought was, Kansas City. Everybody just thought Kansas City's going to roll their way to another AFC championship game. Well, look what Cincinnati has done. Look what Cincinnati's done to Kansas City the last 3 times they played them. But nobody's talking about that because of the expectations that were there. People just expected Kansas City to roll out and win the game. And Cincinnati showed that they can hang with the Kansas City Chiefs. And now you look at the last 4 weeks, the Buffalo Bills have looked absolutely disastrous on the field. Minus a Thursday night against New England, it just reminds me that, the Buffalo Bills are now the top seed in the AFC. But do we have anybody out there saying, well, the Buffalo Bills are guaranteed a slate in the Super Bowl? No, because the last 4 weeks have shown us that the Bills are capable of falling off, of falling into a lull. They're not the same team they were when they came out week 1 and lambasted the Rams. The expectations of what we think teams are have changed the way that we look at this. You look at teams in the NFC. The Philadelphia Eagles are flying away with the NFC. With the NFC. And everybody is so high on them because they're exceeding expectations. They're not where most people expected the Eagles. However, if you expected the Eagles to be where they are, you're looking at them and saying, all right, the Eagles are playing probably the best football in the league right now. But nobody's talking about them because people did not expect them to be there. So again, expectations matter. This is why people don't look at it as a whole. They look at things week to week to week, and they don't factor in what's happened the entire season. They only look at, all right, what have you done for me lately? I mean, let's go to I mean, I don't even know how to classify this, but the Dallas Cowboys. Every time the Dallas Cowboys win a game, all you hear is, yeah, Dallas won, but the other team just didn't play well. I mean, Dallas goes out and dominates Minnesota. Well, Minnesota had a fallout. They weren't playing that well because they were celebrating the win over Buffalo. Dallas beats Minnesota. It's not a big deal. It doesn't show anything about how good the Cowboys are. It doesn't matter. However, the Jets lose to Minnesota, and it shows the Jets. It shows the Jets are on the right track. How does that? How do we get there? How do we get those two polar opposites? One team wins and it's not a big deal. The other team loses and it somehow shows that they're a playoff team or their fan base is energized by the fact that they lost by 5. It's because of the expectations. The expectations of the Jets were not that they would be a team battling for the playoffs. That they would be a team that would be holding on to, that would be in week 13 holding on to would be holding on to a playoff spot. People didn't expect that. So they're not going to sit there. So they're trying to rationalize why a team is not there. Why a team is in a spot that they didn't expect them to be. Now, that being said, we talked about, that being said, the other expectation is the San Francisco 49ers. And it just a bad injury to Jimmy Garoppolo. I watched the game with a lot of 49ers fans over the weekend, and I will say this: the 49ers fans that I watch the game with are what I call legit fans. They're fans of the 49ers, but they're also pragmatic enough to where when Jimmy G went down, even though they won the game, the talk after the game was, the talk about with all the fans was, what do we do at quarterback? What are we going to do at quarterback? And, I've seen the hardline 49ers fans. I've seen them come up and say, it doesn't matter who our quarterback is because we can run the ball and play defense. Okay, that can work for a couple games. It can work in the regular season. But the question's going to come when you need a play from your quarterback. Can you rely on Brock Purdy to make that play? That's the question that you're going to have to answer. And that's what it comes down to for 49ers fans. That's what playoff teams are going to. Playoff teams are going to make Brock Purdy beat them. So he's going to have to make a play. Kyle Shanahan can do all the gimmicks he wants to do. But at some point, it's going to come down to, can Brock Purdy make the play on 3rd and 8 on a drive at the end of the game when you need a touchdown or you need a field goal, you need points, and you're first down at your own 20-yard line, you need to go 75. You need to go 30, you need 40, 50 yards to get a field goal. That's what the hell out of my way. That's where the That's where the question marks are going to come in for the 49ers. Is Brock Purdy that guy? A rookie from Iowa State. Can he lead this team in a moment when he needs to? Can Brock Purdy win when Christian McCaffrey's running wild, running for 100 yards and doing the things that he can do? Absolutely. Can Brock Purdy win when Nick Bosa has 3 sacks and the defense makes ridiculous turnovers? Absolutely. Absolutely, he can win when that happens. The question with Brock Purdy is, can he win when all of that goes away? If all of that doesn't come with it, can Brock Purdy lead your team to a victory? And can he do it against a defense? The Miami defense has been shredded time and time again this year. Go back to Baltimore. Baltimore shredded the Miami defense for 3 quarters. So teams have been able to go through that defense. So that was that a legitimate test of Brock Purdy? That's up for you to decide. If you think Miami was a legitimate test, then okay. Seattle's still sitting out there. Seattle has a good defense. They have a coach in Pete Carroll who will make Brock Purdy win the game. And that will be the game that tells us whether Brock Purdy is the guy for San Francisco or not. But again, it comes back to what we talked about at the top of the show. It comes back to expectations. What do you expect to get from your team? If you expect the 49ers to be Super Bowl contenders, you can't be enthused by having Brock Purdy as your quarterback. If that's your expectation. If your expectation is, can he win us some games? Yeah, he can win some games. The question is going to be, can he win when it matters? Can he win when the game is on his shoulders? And nobody knows this more than the Dallas Cowboy fans. Who, yeah, Cooper Rush could win some games. And then he went to Philadelphia where the Eagles said, Cooper Rush, you're going to have to win this game. And he couldn't do it. Because that's the life of backup quarterbacks. There's a reason why backup quarterbacks are backup quarterbacks. And it's that simple. Now, let's get to the biggest issue of this weekend, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers got run over by the Las Vegas Raiders again. Brandon Staley looks absolutely lost as a head coach. When he came off the field, when I saw that game end and I saw Brandon Staley coming off the field, I said, this looks like a guy who knows his job is over. Brandon Staley is a lame duck in Los Angeles. There's no reason why that team should be that bad. With the talent that they brought in, with the talent that they have, there's no reason why the Chargers should be. And I believe they're 4. Are they? Why the Chargers are in the spot that they should be. And here's the sad dilemma. Here's the sad dilemma the Chargers have for the next couple weeks. The Chargers are going to be on in prime time. And if they don't show up against Miami on Sunday night, it could be the end of Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley could be out by the time that game's over. That game, that's the seriousness of this situation. Because the Chargers are a lost football team. There's too much talent on that team to be in the spot that they are. You have Justin Herbert at quarterback. You have Austin Eckler as your running back. You have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams as your wide receivers. There's no reason why that offense should be as pathetic as they are. On defense, you have Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. You have Derwin James. You have playmakers on that defensive side of the football. There's no reason why that defense should be giving up 27 points to the Raiders. There's no reason why Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams should be going wild on your defense. Devontae was over 100. Jacobs had over 100 and a couple touchdowns. There's no reason why that should have happened to the Chargers. So I say this right now, and people probably want to see, they want to see ranting and raving. Again, I'm not going to rant and rave and be angry and be somebody who says this has to happen and yell and scream about it. All I'm going to point out is what's actually happening. And again, the expectation of the Chargers, a lot of people had expectations of them. The Chargers can possibly dethrone Kansas City. If that's your expectation and this team fails to make the playoffs, you have to look at one guy. There's one guy to look at, and that's the head coach. And the axe is going to fall on the head coach at some point. So that's going to happen to Brandon Staley. The same situation out in Denver. The Denver Broncos lost to Tyler Huntley. That's inexcusable. That's inexcusable for the head coach. They were up 9-0. They were winning that game. And the Ravens lost Lamar Jackson. So you thought, all right, now is the time when Denver can take over the football game. They didn't. They allowed Tyler Huntley to lead a comeback, and the Ravens get a win. And the Denver Broncos, if you want to put this on somebody, you put it on your head coach. This is the third game that the head coach has cost the Denver Broncos. The head coach costing you one game, to me, is a fireable offense. 3 games, there's no question about. There's no question about it. Nathaniel Hackett is gone. At the end of the year, no matter what happens in Denver, I don't care what they do these last few weeks of the season, Nathaniel Hackett will be gone by the end of the year. and those are going to be coaching opportunities for now. Who would they get to go move into those spots? I mean, we've already got Carolina as an opening. I'm telling you right now, the Chargers are going to be an opening. Denver's going to be an opening. Arizona is going to have to make a decision. I would think they would stick with Cliff Kingsbury for one. I would think they would stick with him for. I think they give him another year, a full year with DeAndre Hop, a full year with Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins. I think that's fair. I think that's the fair move to do. But we all know the NFL is not about fairness. The NFL is about what have you done for me lately, and I could see them moving on. I could see them making a move if they really want to. Speaking of expectations, the Houston Texans are a disaster. Do you guys understand the Houston Texans lost a football game where their defense did not give up a touchdown? Their offense gave up 3 touchdowns and the game ended 27-21. And the offense gave up 3 touchdowns. They held Nick Chubb in check. Deshaun Watson looked like a guy who's playing his first game. And nobody even talked about it. They didn't even talk about it at all yesterday, about that game. And we all know why. Nobody wanted to touch that game. Nobody wanted to comment on that game. They didn't want to touch on that game because of the implications of Deshaun Watson. Because the Texans are that bad that nobody even wanted to talk about them. But I'll talk about them. The Houston Texans are a garbage football team. And you cannot lose a game where your defense does not give up a touchdown because your offense is that inept that they gave the other team 21 points. So that's what I'm looking at in the NFL. Now let's go off the field. Let's go off the field in college football and talk about the other big story of the weekend, which is Deion Sanders to Colorado. Now, nobody loves Prime more than me. I've been a Deion Sanders fan since I was a teenager. Loved watching him. He's one of the reasons why I got into football. He's one of the reasons why I started watching football. I love Deion Sanders. I just don't understand this move for Deion Sanders. All pride to him. All power to him. Like, you took Jackson State from nothing to being the darling of the HBCU. You've made Jackson State what they are. Great job. Colorado's a different animal, and this is going to be a test of what the transfer portal is going to do to college football, because Deion going to Colorado, if he wants to have success at Colorado, he's going to have to bring some of those athletes from Jackson State and get them to transfer over to Colorado. Because you're not going to be able to recruit guys to play in Colorado in a Pac-12 that is disintegrating before our eyes. Colorado is at the basement of a conference that is about that in 2 years, when USC and UCLA make the move to the Big Ten, the Pac-12 is going to be irrelevant. Oregon is already trying to find a way out of the Pac-12. Washington is trying to find a way out. Utah, who just got in there, there's going to be conferences coming after Utah the way that they have played. If any one of those dominoes falls, God forbid all four of them, the Pac-12 is over. The Pac-12 is over as a conference if you lose Oregon, Washington, Utah. If you lose any of those teams, the Pac-12 is unsellable as a conference. So Deion Sanders making the move, I've said Colorado is not it just doesn't fit with Deion's brand. It's not on brand for Deion Sanders. Now, what does Deion see this as? Does he see it as Colorado is a viable place to win to play winning football? Well, he's going to have to turn a culture there. Mel Tucker had them going in the right direction, and then he bolted for Michigan State. So what does Deion see? Does Deion see this as, I'm going to build Colorado, or I'm going to build the name Deion Sanders, make Colorado decent, and then move on to a bigger name school? Is that the plan for Deion, or is Deion going to Colorado because he believes he can build Colorado into a powerhouse? Now, Deion will give you Deion's too media savvy. He'll give you the answer. I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to turn Colorado around. I believe in Boulder. I believe in the university. I believe in all. He's going to say all the right things. But if you ask honestly, is Deion going there to make Colorado back to the days of Darian Hagan, and back to the days of Eric Bieniemy, and back to the days of Cordell Stewart and Michael Westbrook and those kind of Colorado? Is he going back there to bring Colorado back to being Colorado? That I don't know. And that's one thing that really questions me about Deion Sanders. Yes, Deion Sanders has done a great job, and he's brought talent down to Jackson State. Is there any game on their schedule that they've played where they were not the more talented team? Where Deion Sanders coached them up to be where he out-coached the more popular team. The only game I can think of where Deion played, or Deion's Jackson State team played a comparable, a comparable set of skill players, was last year in the Celebration Bowl, and they got embarrassed. They got embarrassed by South Carolina State. Shaq Davis put on a show that was unbelievable. That's what we're looking at when we look at Deion Sanders. That's what we're looking at. Can Deion recruit? Absolutely, because who doesn't love Deion Sanders? Deion Sanders can talk his way out of anything. Deion Sanders is all over. He's in the Aflac commercials. He's a big time name. So players are going to want to go play for him. Question's going to be, what can Deion do? What can Deion do to make Colorado a place that primetime athletes want to go to? Is it just because they want to go and play for Deion Sanders? Well, I mean, there are 30 to 40 other schools in Division I college football that people will say, well, I want to go somewhere and win. Not just, I want to go and play with Deion Sanders. Because Clemson's going to get athletes. Alabama's going to get athletes. Ohio State's going to get athletes. Notre Dame. College football comes down to recruiting. Comes down to having the horse. And if you don't have the horses, it comes down to, do you have the ability to put those horses in positions to win? Do you have an offense that is, do you have an offense that is structurally different? Do you have a defense that can disrupt these complex offenses? That's what college football comes down to. USC is going to start recruiting guys because guys are going to want to go play for Lincoln Riley. Guys are going to want to play in Sonny Dykes' offense down at TCU. Texas we're already seeing Texas recruit guys like Arch Manning. So Texas is going to be viable in the next couple of years. Oklahoma is going to bounce back. And then they're going to go to the SEC, and we're going to see what kind of athletes they can pull there. So Deion is going to have, this is going to show us what kind of coach Deion is. Is Deion just a name, or is he an actual coach? Can he run a system that gets these primetime players and makes them primetime names? That's what Colorado's banking on right now. And as somebody who's watched a little bit of Jackson State, I haven't seen that out of Deion. I haven't seen him make. Yes, he's taken Jackson State to levels, and he's taken them, made them a spotlight team. But when the spotlight shined the brightest, and the team and the level of competition was evenly matched, the last time I saw them play an evenly matched game, South Carolina State wiped the floor with them. And that's something that Deion will have to live with, and Deion will have to figure out. So, That's my thought. Those are my thoughts on the weekend. You know, of all the big things that happened this weekend, I'm gonna close out this rant with where we began. It's what are the expectations, and this final story, the last story I just told you is all that you need to know. What are the expectations of Deion Sanders in Colorado? Is it Pac-12 titles? Is it national championships? Is it just to get Colorado viable again? Because what your expectations are of Deion, what your expectations are of that Colorado team, will tell you where. Will tell you whether it's a success or not. And that's where we're at in sports now, and in all of life, in all of it, in entertainment. What do you expect something? If you expect something to be great and it's not, it looks like garbage. However, you can have something, well, I'm not expecting much out of this television show. And then you watch it and it's halfway decent and you're like, oh, wow, this is great because it exceeded your expectations. But it could be just as good as something, it could be just as good as something else that you say, well, I wasn't expecting much. And, I always like to make the point. I always like to cross sports and entertainment because to me, sports is entertainment. So they do work hand in hand. I mean, if you go back and you look at, I look at Rings of Power. Oh, Rings of Power was supposed to be this great epic show, and it was an epic failure. However, House of the Dragon, nobody had any expectations of it coming off Game of Thrones. People didn't think much of House of the Dragon. So when House of the Dragon was halfway decent, people looked at it and went, "Wow, this show is great," because it exceeded your expectations. So that's kind of what we're looking at in sports. That's kind of what we're looking at in sports. If you expect someone to be great and they're only good or halfway decent, you go, something's wrong here. This team's not as good as I thought they were, so they're a failure. But then you can have another team that you didn't think was going to be good. They end up being halfway decent, and you go, well, they're doing pretty well because they exceeded my expectations. So the expectations are what matters. That's what we're looking at. That's what we're focusing on here is expectations. What are your expectations? What do you expect to happen? When things happen the way that you expected them, you go, oh, that's you look at it completely different from when things exceed your expectations. You look at that, you can look at minimal goals as being monumental achievements because your expectations weren't there. Because your expectations were so low that it was an easy hurdle to jump over. That's something that's going on. So, That's why expectations are so important. That's why I'm spending a lot of time breaking this down, and that's why I'm not getting on a soapbox, and I'm not going to sit here and rant and rave and yell and scream, and I'm just going to point out to you guys. I'm just going to point this out in a calm way. And yeah, does it make Fit Down Sports Show? Does it make midday sports with the lunch crew? Does it make for compelling television? Does it make for compelling viewing? That's up to you. What it again comes down to your expectations. Because if you want somebody to rant and rave, yeah, I could do that. But the fact is, it does in the long scheme of things, how much I rant and rave about what's going on in sports. It's not about whether you yell or scream or point the loudest. It's whether you're pointing out what's actually happening. It's whether you're taking the facts and putting them towards what's going on. I mean, I watched people today. I've watched people say, "Oh, see, the Big Ten got 2 teams in, and that means they're better than the SEC." What the hell are you talking about? The SEC is still the more dominant conference. Yeah, the Big Ten got 2 teams in. We've seen the SEC get 2 teams in for the last 4 years straight. So, this doesn't change much. We kind of expected the Big Ten to have Ohio State and Michigan going for the competing for the national title. We expected that. And you look at what's left. I mean, Alabama and Tennessee, they were right there. And again, Tennessee, I don't feel bad for you because you had everything there, and you let South Carolina, you let Spencer Rattler go wild, and that was your chance. That was your opportunity. If you had beaten South Carolina, Tennessee would be in. If Alabama had beaten LSU and played in the SEC championship game, we'd be having a totally different discussion today. Be a totally different discussion. But it's not. But that's not what happened. USC, you had your opportunity. Your opportunity was right there for you. And your defense let you down. So that's where I'm sitting. Let me check something out here. What do you? So I'm just trying to see if we have a time frame for when Rod goes, because I could go on again. I could go on this. I could continue this rant, but you know, I can beat a dead horse with the best of them. But I think I've shown you enough. I think I've shown you the examples of expectations of what I'm talking about with the expectations. If we live in a world where if we keep going like this, we're gonna if you don't stay grounded and you don't stay, if you fly off the handle of, if you fly off the handle of our team is going to the Super Bowl. Okay, well, if you don't reach the Super Bowl, then you haven't reached the expectations of your team. If you're a fan that says Super Bowl or bust, then if you don't reach a Super Bowl, you don't make it. I mean, go look at any other sport. I mean, I don't know how many of you, I deal with Yankee fans all the time. Yankee fans, it's World Series or bust. If you don't win the World Series, the season's a failure. Well, for other teams, sometimes just getting to the playoffs is good. Getting to the playoffs is a great season. The Phillies, people didn't expect the Phillies when they got into the playoffs. People didn't expect the Phillies to make the World Series. And because they made the World Series, people said, "Oh, the Phillies had a remarkable year." Well, I mean, the Yankees made it. The Yankees made it to the ALCS, but they're a failure. And meanwhile, the Phillies are are a great team. The Braves are great. The Braves are a great team. Well, the Yankees made it farther than the Braves did. But again, the expectation of the Yankee fan is World Series or bust. So since you didn't make the World Series, you're a bust. The New York Mets had an 80-win, had a 100-win season. The New York Mets had a great. I didn't even expect the Mets to make the playoffs this year, and they ended up getting in. Yeah, they lost to the Padres in the playoffs, but I don't look at that as a horrible season. The Mets had a decent season, and anybody can lose at any time in the playoffs. But the Mets are, and so I look at it as the Mets had a decent. They exceeded my expectations, so they had a good season. Again, it comes down to what do we expect? What do we expect from our team? And I am a Cowboys fan, but I'm not one of these Cowboy fans who says this team is if they make the Super Bowl, that's exceeding expectations right now. And for everybody that says the Cowboys are Super Bowl bound because they beat the Colts, calm down, okay? Calm down. And for everybody that says, look, the Cowboys have no chance. No, look at how the Cowboys have played the last 3 weeks. The Cowboys have played very well the last 3 weeks. And if they play like that, they can beat anybody. So would it be a shock that the Cowboys make it? No, it wouldn't. Because the Cowboys have a great defense. And look at that defense. They're number one in almost every defensive category. So that defense is great. And that can that defense hold up? That's the question. And the question becomes, what happens if they don't? So the expectations, again, the expectations of the Dallas Cowboys. What do you expect the Cowboys to be? Because we'll have to see. So, let's hear. All right, I'm just getting a message here. Let's see what we got. No message. All right. Oh, something came in. Oh, all right. So Rod's on his way. So I'm gonna go into a hurry up offense here, and I'm gonna try to just play it out till Rod gets here, and then we can hash it up. But I'm just gonna continue on this and continue with the expectations thing, and just keep on filing it out here. But I'm going to move on to my thoughts on the college football playoff. On what look, how they got there. We already discussed how they got there. So let's just break the games down and let me say, before I get to the college football playoff, because I have a moment to rant here. Let me rant and rave again, going back to expectations. Look, you had, coming into the week, you had Blake Corum up for the Heisman. Injured, didn't play. You had Caleb Williams. Got injured, didn't play well against Utah for the Heisman. Bryce Young didn't play. Stroud at Ohio State didn't play this weekend. The one guy that played this weekend that showed he was the Heisman Trophy candidate was Max Duggan at TCU. And so many people said, oh my God, Max Duggan, TCU, they lost. I don't care that they lost, because what Max Duggan did on that game-tying drive is was Heisman Trophy worthy. He showed he's the most outstanding player in college football this year. And he won the award by 3rd and 17, he runs for 18. 3rd and 14, he scrambles for 15. Next play, he runs for 45 and runs it down inside 1st and goal from inside the 10. Then he runs the next quarterback power, runs it into the end zone, and nearly collapses on his way into the end zone. Then they convert the 2-point conversion to tie the game. Those are the kinds of moments that win you the Heisman Trophy. When you take the team on your shoulders, when you take the entire team on your shoulders and you make that, and you bring them to a level, you bring them to the level. Did anybody think TCU was coming back in that game? They had no offense up until that drive, and all of a sudden Max Duggan says, nope, I'm not putting the ball in anybody else's hand. Now, I can blame Coach Sonny Dykes or whoever's calling the plays at TCU how you have a first and goal at the the 1 inch line, how you don't call a QB sneak with a bush push, third and goal or fourth and goal, how you don't call the quarterback sneak and just push him into the end zone, that I don't know. Why you're handing the ball 5 yards? Why you're handing the ball off 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage? Why that's happening, I have no idea. I have no idea. But credit to Kansas State, they stopped them at the goal line and they stuffed the game and they went out, kicked a game-winning field goal, and that's it. But the fact that guys got injured at the end of the year, that's what showed us. That's why Max Duggan should be the Heisman Trophy winner. Now, will he be the Heisman Trophy winner? That I don't think so. I think a lot of people had their ballots in before this week was even done, and I think Max Duggan will win? If it were my decision and my decision alone, Max Duggan wins the Heisman Trophy. Oh, and here we go. And Rod is coming into the show.
What's up, Deez? I appreciate you, man.
What's going on, man? Nothing bad. We're just holding. We've been holding things down till you got here.
Man, I appreciate that, man. But yes, that's the crazy week. You said it best, man. What a crazy week, man. USC definitely need to fire Edgar, man. It's ridiculous how many points he gave up.
I said it at the beginning of this program. Alex Gibbs continues to fail upwards, and I don't at some point your failure has to be addressed. And that defense was absolutely atrocious.
Man, but yes, the main thing though, man. Like you would think Lincoln would say something. All the connection he's has and working himself up the college ranks, you would think he would see, man, my offense is not the problem. It's that defensive coordinator and putting the players at right position, man. You're chasing a legacy of great defenses. USC used to have great defenses, physical, didn't make too many mistakes, and this is not USC football right here.
I don't think I really don't think Lincoln Riley cares. I don't think Lincoln Riley cares about defense at all. I mean, he's the one that brought Alex Grinch in he brought him to Oklahoma. He thought Alex Grinch's defenses at Washington State were good enough for Oklahoma football. And then he said, you know what? I've had this guy, I'm going to bring him to USC. Like, he's had so many chances to get a different voice in there. I don't understand how Alex Grinch keeps getting these gigs and how he keeps holding on to them.
Like, it definitely doesn't make sense, man. But my biggest thing is, man, like it's redundant. I don't know how you're not smart enough to even change the scheme. Switch man to zone, rush 4. I just don't understand how you don't know how to mix up blitzes and scheme when it comes to defense. Like, it's crazy to me.
And beyond scheme, I mean, it's as I said at the beginning. You can't play. It doesn't matter what scheme you play. If you can't tackle, you can't play defense. And if you want one play, the tight end catches the ball 35 yards from the end zone, and 3 guys missed the tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Three guys miss a tackle on a tight end. That's inexcusable, and that's the point when it became an embarrassment. It went from a failure to an embarrassment in that, and then that wasn't even the end of the game. That was just the most embarrassing play. The rest of the game, that defense they just gave up. They eventually just went, nope, we're done. We're not even going to try, because they were missing tackles left and right. I think I saw a stat at the end of the day. They had 25 missed tackles in a game.
Jeez,
that's unacceptable. That comes down to effort, and it came down to they were just beaten down. They were just like, we're done. We don't want, at some point pride has to play. At some point pride has to come in and say, we're not going to let this happen. We're too good for this. We're going to show how good we are. No, they at the end they were just like, we don't care anymore.
Yeah, it's sad. But yeah, let me ask you a question about this, man. I was watching over the weekend. I was watching, the Commander/Redskins game against the Giants. I hate ties. I think ties are dumb in football. You know what I mean? I hate ties.
Ties are ridiculous. Ties are ridiculous. There's no reason why an NFL game should end in a tie.
Like it doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, if you
why not finish the game?
If you want to have it, I mean, it's stupid, but it's
especially in divisional games. That tie hurts. The divisional games, you need a win or loss.
College football does it, a stupid way where they have their back and forth, and then all of a sudden it's 2-point convert. It's stupid when they get down to, all right, it's just going to be a 2-point conversion play, and if you convert it, if you convert it, you win. If you don't, whatever. That I get it. That's kind of dumb, but at the end of the day, there's a winner and a loser. So at least we get something out of it. I get the NFL doesn't want these games to go forever, and they don't want to keep playing overtimes. Why can't you just do an NFL version of? I've said this for years. Why can't you just do, all right, first and goal? First down, play from the 40-yard line instead of playing from the 25 like college does. Play from the 40. Play from the 40. Play from the 40-yard line out. That way, it's not a chip shot field goal. It's not a, hey, if the other team stops them on fourth, if you're 4th and 10 at the 40-yard line, are you going to kick a field goal or are you going to go for it? And that to me is the perfect example for the NFL. That's the perfect solution for the NFL. Just play from the 40-yard line. From the 40-yard line, if one team gets stopped, they get stopped. If the other and then you go back and the other team gets it first and 10 from the 40-yard line, and all they have to do is kick a field goal. It's so simple, but they don't want to do it because they don't want it to be. Oh, we don't want it to be a gimmick. We don't want it to be this. I mean, at some point, you have to find a way to end these games. Ties are stupid. Ties should never happen in football.
It definitely doesn't make sense to me. It aggravates me. But the NFL stuck in their ways. But man, yes, I heard your discussion about Deion while I was out. It doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. You think about it, is I feel like right now his track record in these 2 to 3 years, he is a marketing genius when it comes to recruiting. You know what I mean? You have Tim Brewster with him, who is a legend when it comes to recruiting college football and scouting talent. So it does make sense to me in that aspect. Do I expect him to take him to the NCAA championship, the national title? No. Can I think he can improve a 1-11 team? I think he could do that.
Well, again, it comes down to what your expectation is. And if your expectation is, can he improve Colorado is going to be better next year just because they have Deion Sanders. They're going to be better.
And don't be surprised they'll have a top 40, top 30 class.
Yeah. Like I said, he's going to have to bring in. He's going to have to bring transfers from Jackson. He's going to transfer a lot of those kids from Jackson State. He's going to bring a lot of them. Mm-hmm. The transfer portal is going to be big. That's going to be big for Colorado. But again, what is your expectation? What is if your expectation is, can Deion be better than 1-11? Yeah, can he be better than Colorado football's been the last couple of years? Yeah, Colorado football has been absolutely horrible.
But also, we're not looking into this.
Can Deion win Pac-12 titles? Can he win national championships? I don't have that expectation of Deion Sanders right now.
Well, we're also not looking at the biggest picture, right? You think about it. Before LeBron was in Cleveland, what was Cleveland? Yeah. a dying team. Nobody really supported. You know what I mean? Nobody really went to Cleveland Cavaliers games.
What are they since LeBron? LeBron with LeBron, they were a thriving franchise. Cleveland was a thriving city. Since LeBron left, Cleveland is a disaster in every aspect.
So look, the Pac-12 is dying. You need a big figurehead in the Pac. You know what I mean? To keep people motivated, wanting to watch the TV money. You got to look at that. I look at that. You know what I mean? I said this makes sense. Why they will want Deion in this division? Everybody's about to leave, like you said.
But you watch FCS. You watch FCS. You watch FCS more than I do, and that says enough. But let me ask you this question about Deion and Jackson State. How many Jackson State games did you see this year where the talent was even? I can tell you right now, every Jackson State game I've seen this year, I haven't seen a game where Jackson State wasn't the more talented team. They were more talented than every team that they played this year.
Look at the game with Campbell. When we get off the stream, look at the game with Campbell. Campbell did some great things in the game. Campbell's Mike Minter is a great recruiter. With things he's doing in Campbell, it was a challenge. Hugh Jackson, that game was pretty competitive with Hugh, running the ball. So it is talent in the FCS and the SWAC. I know a lot of people don't want to believe it, but it is talent there. Look at what he did to, look at James Houston. He just destroyed Trevor Lawrence. He blew up his leg. I don't know if anybody watched that sack he had on Trevor Lawrence. Like, he came from Deion. He had 1 year at Jackson State. He made him to a pass rusher, a defensive end / linebacker hybrid. He's thriving in an NFL. Jackson State haven't had somebody getting drafted for a lot of years before James Houston and Deion got there.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I go back to the last time I saw Deion coach team play against another team that had the kind of athletes that Jackson State had. The last time I saw them play was last year in the bowl game against South Carolina State, and South Carolina State mopped the floor with them. When the talent was even, it didn't get there.
Sometimes the best teams overlook.
What are we going to see? Because when he gets to Colorado, it's not going to be, all right, we have the more talented team. it's going to come down to, all right, we need to out scheme these other teams. Because he's going to go against Oregon. Oregon's going to have better athletes than Colorado does. He's going to go against USC's and UCLA's for at least a couple of years until they leave. They're going to be the more Colorado's going to be the least talented team when they go into those matchups. So I haven't seen Deion outperform another sideline when he hasn't had the more talented team. That's my question about Deion Sanders, and it hasn't been.
But ain't that every coach needs? Tennessee outplayed Alabama. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
A lot of teams that get out.
And again, you had
Alabama got a better defense than Tennessee.
But you can look at that. You could look at that game, and you could say, "Look, you had Josh Heupel, who has a certain scheme. He has a scheme on offense that, that is totally different than everybody else. That's why they brought Josh Heupel in there. Is not because he's Josh Heupel and because he was a former Heisman. They didn't bring him in there because he was a former Heisman Trophy winner. They brought him in there because his scheme at UCF was totally different than what everybody else is doing. So let's try that scheme and let's see what happens. I don't see that with Deion. I don't see a certain scheme with Deion Sanders. I don't see we know why Mike Leach is in Mississippi State. He's in Mississippi State because of the air raid. Because of the air raid offense is a totally different scheme, and that's something that they wanted to try. Deion doesn't have that. Deion just has the name Deion.
And that's what. And Deion got a disciple off the Mike Leach team, Brett Barrione, who was with Mike Leach at Washington. Yeah. It's not quite an air raid, but it's I'm not saying
it's not there, and I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying when he gets to Colorado, we have to see. We're going to have to see Deion outcoach some of these teams. He's going to have to outcoach some of these sidelines, and this is the opportunity for Deion to do it. The question to me, which I posed earlier, is this Deion going to Colorado because Deion wants to make Colorado good, or is this going to be Deion going to Colorado because he wants to make Deion look good and go somewhere else? That's the question that that's going to be debated for until Deion answers that question. Until either Colorado's really good or Deion moves on to somewhere else, a la Mel Tucker, who took Colorado to be really good and then shipped house to Michigan State. Is that what Deion's trying to do? Go to Colorado and then go to a real Power 5 national champion? I think
the end goal is really
that remains.
I think the real end goal is him going to Florida. I think he definitely wants the Florida State job. No lies about that. He wanted the Florida State job before he got to Jackson, but they said, no, you don't got no college experience, coaching experience. But we can say this. You look at the other way out. Trent Difford just got a job with UAB. Nobody asked for experience with him. He's just a high school coach. You can't tell me Trent Difford's a smarter football mind than Deion Sanders. You can't tell me that.
No, there's nobody who's a smarter mind. Again, Deion is. You're never gonna get me to say anything bad about Deion Sanders because I love Deion Sanders since I was 13 years old. I've loved everything about Deion.
And look at the train wreck at the Colts with Jeff Saturday. What happened? What did your Cowboys do? What did your Cowboys do? What scheme was that?
the scheme the Cowboys played was let's just sack Matt Ryan until he starts throwing the ball to us, and that's what they did.
So
I mean,
well, man,
Jeff Saturday. That's the funny thing. That's the funny thing is it goes back to expectations. And what if you went in, all the people that are talking about Jeff Saturday right now are the people that are like that when he got hired, they said, "Oh, he shouldn't have got the job. He shouldn't have done this. He shouldn't have done that." All those people right now are saying, "Look at Jeff Saturday has turned the Colts into a disaster." Jeff Saturday didn't throw the interceptions. Matt Ryan did. But Jeff Saturday's going to get called for it. And Jeff Saturday didn't go into the huddle and go on the mic and say, "Hey, Matt Ryan, throw the ball to the Cowboys." He didn't tell him to do that. So they kept bringing it up during the broadcast last night about everybody that said, "Oh, Jeff Saturday has no experience. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah." And then last night they're talking about he's been a consultant with this team the entire year. He's been at practice he's been basically a coach without being a coach. He was there observing and observed the entire season. So he knows all these players. He knows everything that's going on. You didn't hear that one bit when Jeff Saturday was hired. All it was he has no experience. Well, he's been around the team the entire year. That's how he got the job is because he was best friends with the owner. The owner's going when the owner wants to make a decision, he go with guys who are his friends and be like, "Yeah, this guy's my friend. I'm going to give him a chance."
This is why I don't understand. You have great minds like Tony Dungy. Why not go through him for the next coach? He's a great mind. He was a great head coach.
Because Tony Dungy turned him down. He turned him down when they hired Frank Reich. Tony Dungy doesn't want to. Tony Dungy's fine where he is right now. Tony Dungy.
No, I'm saying for a coaching hire. You should ask him, Tony, what you think about this guy? Because he done it at a high level. Like you can't just keep on throwing spaghetti at the wall and expect something to stick.
Yeah, but again, you're not. I'll be interested to see if they keep Jeff Sack. I don't even know.
They probably will.
My intuition is that Jeff Saturday is just a placeholder. Like Jeff Saturday was all right. We need to finish out the year. Let's just throw somebody in there. And do that. I don't think he'll be on the sidelines next year. I don't think he'll be the head coach next year. I'm interested to see. I'd be shocked if he's the head coach game one next year. I think it's good. I think they're going to get somebody else. I think Jeff Saturday was just all right, let's throw Jeff in there. If we catch lightning in a bottle, then we're good. But the way that this is going, I think they're going to turn to somebody who has some idea of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think Indy did. That's what I think Indy did. And that's why I think Indy hired him is that, hey, if we have to get rid of him at the end of the year, we can, because we can just say, yeah, Jeff was our placeholder and he stepped up to the position and we're thankful for him to do that. But now we're going to get somebody who's actually in the profession and now we can do a professional search for the right candidate. I think that's what they were doing. I'd be shocked if Jeff Saturday's still the coach after this season. If he doesn't step down or I would imagine it's going to go like this. Jeff Saturday after the last game, week 17, Jeff Saturday is going to take the mic and he's going to say, "Look, I'm not the head coach. I'm stepping down as head coach. I'll put my name in the running if they want to hire me, but I'm stepping away. The Colts can do a search and they can find the right guy." That's what I think Jeff Saturday is going to do. But
Like
I
I
don't.
wouldn't be surprised if he stay.
I would
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be shocked if the Colts keep him on for a full year.
I think they're gonna do it for a full year.
That'd
Um,
be
but again, but again, I think going back to the Dion, I think you know what I mean. He's definitely gonna have some good games. Nebraska's the first game. I'm ready. You know what I mean. I'm interested to see what's the coaching staff he's gonna fill out is gonna look like. You know what I mean? Because Dennis Thurman was on the original coaching staff as a defensive coordinator. Uh, Jeff Weeks. I want to see what coaches he's taking with him. I know he's definitely going to take uh, Georgia's ex assistant uh, strength and conditioning coach, Mo Sims. He was with the national championship team last year with Georgia. I know he's definitely going to take him with him to Colorado, because them boys are not strong. Was last year that was not really strong. Yeah. So that's going to improve the conditioning. I'm really interested to see, because you got Nebraska the first game, you know what I mean, next year. Then 2024, remember everybody was talking about it, Deets? I would like to see North Dakota State versus Jackson State. Deion's going to do it with Colorado. So I'm interested to see that game in 2024.
Yeah. I think Deion will get those matchups. Those matchups that'll make it. That's why Colorado hired him. They hired him to bring those matchups in. Now the question is, can he win them?
Again, man, I think people are gonna be surprised, man. I think the ceiling for me, if he can bring the right guys in, the right coaching staff, and he get the right players, I'm gonna say 7 wins each. I think they're gonna improve by 7 wins. And I think that'd be a success for his first year.
Absolutely, that's a first year success. I mean, look at what a good coach can do. I mean, UConn made a bowl game this year with Jim Mora.
But Deets, the biggest thing,
they brought Jim Mora in. They made a bowl game. UConn is acting like they're going to a BCS game. This is a team that's played in BCS games before, and they're celebrating. Hey, we became bowl eligible. Like again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning: expectations. If your expectation is, all right, let's be better than we were last year, like Colorado, that hurdle, that's like one of those. I was thinking about that. It's like one of those like training hurdles that they have. You know those sprinting hurdles. It's not like running, and it's not like you're going from. It's not like you're trying to jump over a steeplechase hurdle. You're jumping over one of those speed agility hurdles. Like, all right, be better than 1 in 11. Okay, like that's your expectation.
The biggest thing
is Deion's going to come in and bring us championships. Then your expectations are going to be subverted very quickly.
But Deets, when is the last time Colorado has had a solid quarterback?
The last time they had a solid quarterback, the last solid quarterback they had was Steven Montez. And that was with Mel Tucker.
That's why.
And that was and he's the best that they've had in the last, I want to say, 20 years. And Steven Montez is good enough to be a backup in the XFL. That's the kind of talent you're looking at in Colorado.
And I know Luke McCown's son just entered the transfer portal. He did the right thing, but even though he was terrible, but I think the biggest thing about this move was, man, he wanted to get his son a fair shot in the NFL. And if his son can light up in the pack, he take the Colorado to a decent bowl game, or eventually in his senior year, junior year. that's a win for him to show the scouts, hey, I'm a real quarterback. You know what I mean? I went from FCS. I did in the pack. I got my dad's team to a solid bowl game. I dominated. He got to have a Trey Lance moment in the pack to get himself where he wants to go. That's what I
Well,
believe.
just hope he gets a chance to play USC's defense, because if they continue to play that kind of defense, then any quarterback can light up that defense.
And that's what I'm saying. He goes against them that kind of talent, or a Utah, you know what I mean? Utah State, and it shows some good tape, lighting them up, or throwing some decent yards and decent touchdowns. The scouts gonna love it. A Sanders
Yeah.
name, producing, they're gonna love it.
Yeah,
The upcoming years. Hope you know what I mean. That's all I'm trying to say. I'm
I
interested
agree.
to see
I
how
agree.
the off season is gonna look,
I
and what's
agree.
the recruiting
I
gonna look
agree
like.
with you. That's the motivation, and that's a great thing. Again, we're gonna have to look at what do people expect. We're gonna have to look at the expectation, because I don't have an expectation for Deion Sanders right now, because I have no idea what kind of coach he is. I've seen him win games. Yes, I've seen him win games, but I've seen him win when he's more talented. I want to see what happens when he's less talented, and I want to see what he does this first year in Colorado. I want to see what he does. I want to see what his scheme. I want to see what his scheme is, and I want to see, and then I'll be able to judge what he's doing. If that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and we'll see, man. The off season is gonna be big for him. I know he got a 5-star just to commit. You know what I mean? Within the 24 hours, you know what I mean, time frame. And you know what I mean, them confirming he's the next head coach of Colorado. He got like a 5-star receiver to come.
And I'm telling you, he's going to hit that. He's going to hit that transfer portal. A lot of those Jackson State kids are going to come. A lot of those Jackson State kids are going to become Colorado kids.
Especially Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter coming. I strongly believe Travis Hunter is coming, and that's going to help out that secondary. I know his one son can't come, Shiloh, because he already transferred once. I think he already transferred once from South Carolina to Jackson. So I think the third time you got to sit out for a year. I think that's how the rules goes for the transfer portal. So I think he's going to finish out at Jackson. But yeah, for the most part, man, I'm just interested to see the off season. You know what I mean? I don't got no really horses in the race no more. Tennessee going to have a little decent bowl game, probably, but that's about it, man. What do you have coming up this week, Deets, man?
This week we're gonna break down the college football playoff. We're gonna break down the 2 playoff games. We're gonna do our full breakdown this week, and then next week is our big bowl show. So we have our special guest coming on. She'll come on. It'll be fun. We break it down differently than everybody else, but so we're kind of gearing up. We're kind of gearing up for next week, but. This week, of course, we'll talk about Georgia versus Ohio State and Michigan versus TCU, and of course, we will say it again, and I believe it. Max Duggan for the Heisman. I got so much pushback on Max Duggan for the Heisman Trophy. I don't understand who else can win. I think he wins it by default.
I still want Blake Corum to get it, but I know that's not going to happen.
I've said it all year, Blake Corum. But when you miss the last 2 games, and the team still looks like Michigan did. I mean, at what point do you go, well, it was Blake Corum, or was it the actual team? Because Donovan Edwards still ran for over 150 yards in the Big Ten championship, and Blake Corum was in strip club.
So definitely right.
at what point do you go, well, it was – I mean, you're not going to give it to the entire Michigan offensive line because the entire Michigan offensive line should get the Heisman if that's the case because they've been blocking like monsters all year. But the one guy who's done it all year long is Max Duggan, and he had that 80-yard drive where third and 17, he scrambles for 18 yards on a drive where they had to have it. They had to. They couldn't go. You couldn't go to 4th and long because you would have been screwed. Well, he runs it for 18 first down. Then later on in that drive, 3rd and 14, he scrambles for 15. Then the next play, he runs for 45 yards to put him down 1st and goal. Then he runs it into the end zone to tie the game. I mean, that's a Heisman moment. That's a guy who took the team and put him on his shoulders. None of the other guys had to do that. You know, Stroud wasn't playing this weekend. Bryce Young wasn't playing this weekend. Caleb Williams played, but we saw what he did against Utah. None of the other candidates, if you give it to anybody, they are basically winning it because of their name, because they're the bigger name. And that's not what the Heisman Trophy is supposed to be. The Heisman Trophy is supposed to be about who played the season the best. And Max Duggan showed that on Saturday.
Deets, is it fair just to crown Georgia as the national champion?
It's totally fair. That's totally fair. It's totally fair. Like I said, I turned the game on. I turned the game on because I was late. I was late getting to it. I turned it on. It was 35-7. 35-7, Georgia, and they blocked a punt, ran it back, blocked a field goal, ran it back for a touchdown, interception, run back for a touchdown. Like Georgia's a monster, but they do have to play Ohio State. I expect that. I expect that game to be Georgia running amok in that game. But it's
would you just take the points? Would you just take the points and over on that?
I don't think I would take the over in either one of these games. I haven't looked at what the over under is. If it's not 45, if it's 45 plus, I'm taking the under.
Okay.
Because these are championship games, they usually don't reach the overs.
I gotta say one thing. Snowman, stop the cap. Brock Purdy is not gonna take you to no Super Bowl. He's not gonna be no Mark Ripken and take you to the Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl for you. Stop the cap.
We said that earlier. Can Brock Purdy win you a game against Miami in Week 13? Yeah, absolutely. The question's going to be, can Brock Purdy win a game when every defensive coordinator gets tape on Brock Purdy and they see what he does and what he doesn't? Can he win that game? Can he win that game? And I said I've seen it. I saw it with Cooper Rush. I saw it as a Cowboys fan with Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush was great for 3 weeks. And then he played the Eagles, and they said, Cooper Rush, you're going to be the one that beats us. And he couldn't do it. That's when you're going to know whether San Francisco can win with Brock Purdy or not.
And I'm saying this now. Jimmy G is done for the season. If you look at how his foot was.
He's already done. They've already announced he's done for the season. Broken foot. There's only one way to cure a broken foot, and that's surgery. So surgery is that's 6 weeks right there. That's a 6-week recovery. That's the rest of the regular season and the playoffs. So he's done. So he's done. I mean, a broken foot is not. This is not an injury. I was trying to tell guys this before. They're like, oh, maybe he can come back. I was like, you can't just tape up a broken foot. Like, you can't just tape it up and be like, all right, tape it up, shoot it up. There's gonna shoot it up with painkillers.
Varsity Blue, shoot it up.
Shoot it up with painkillers, tape it up and get by with it. No, a broken foot is it's a broken bone. The only way to fix it is to surgically put a plate in there. That's the only way to fix it. And that right there, like I said, that right there is 6 weeks. That's 6 weeks surgery, no doubt. So there's no way he's coming. There's no way he's stepping on a field again.
And that's what I'm saying now, Deets. Over these couple years, man, that offensive line has been exposed. You only got one dog on that offensive line. You know what I mean?
But think about
and the rest of the guys are.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing you have to think about. Is all right. So Brock. So you know Jimmy G's out. So you know that. So Brock Purdy is your third string quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on behind him?
They're gonna have to get somebody off the streets.
Exactly. So if you're a defensive player, and I'm not advocating this. I'm just saying, if you're a defensive player and you know Brock Purdy is their guy, and then they have to go to some guy off the street, why wouldn't you just go, all right, they wheel back, and every time they pass, we're gonna hit him. We don't care what it is. We're going to blitz him, and we're going to hit him. And if he makes it through the game, okay. But if he comes out, who's coming in?
And they gave all them picks up, man. All of them picks for Christian McCaffrey. So it's not like you can build a lot of picks, a lot of players out of the draft. You gave up a lot.
No, you're going to have to sign somebody off the street, somebody off somebody's practice squad, somebody that's been doing something. You're going to have a competent backup because you have no idea because if Brock Purdy goes down, what are you going to do? Are you going to put Deebo Samuel back there at quarterback? Like, what are you going to do? And that's where can the 49ers win games? Yes. Can you count on Brock Purdy to win you a game? I wouldn't right now. I wouldn't put that on him. I watched Brock Purdy play against Kansas City when he had to come in relief of Jimmy G, and it was bad. So we've seen Brock Purdy play good. We've seen bad Brock Purdy already this season. So yes, we're prisoners of the moment of he played really well against Miami, but that was Miami. Against a really good team, against a really good defense, they're gonna make Brock Purdy play. They're gonna make Brock Purdy do things that he's not supposed to do, and that's gonna.
Let me get this off my chest too, man. About the Jets. Oh man, I got Jet fans at my job. Oh man, Mike White gonna take us to a decent run on the playoffs. I said, man, come on.
Again,
stop it.
The expectations.
Stop it.
The expectations. Look, I said this earlier in the show. The Dallas Cowboys wiped the floor with the Minnesota Vikings. Absolutely destroyed the Vikings 2 weeks ago. And everybody said, yeah, the Cowboys, they beat the Vikings. They said, yeah, but it doesn't mean anything. It's Cowboys. They beat the Vikings. The Jets lose to the Vikings. The same Vikings team, the Jets lose by 5, and everybody says, well, the Jets looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. Wait, how? So one team destroys the Vikings. It doesn't mean anything. One team loses to the Vikings, and it means they're good.
And not to make excuses, Not to make no
what's the
excuses.
difference? There's no difference in these teams.
If what you call Pierre Strongs did not run into the punter, we're talking about a whole different game for the Patriots. Don't make like the Vikings are just some world beaters. They're in a default division because the Packers really terrible. Detroit Lions are Detroit Lions. Chicago Bears are the Bears. They're like Tennessee in the AFC South. Don't got no competition.
Yeah. But again, it goes back to what I said. It goes back to your expectation. The expectation of the Cowboys is, all right, are they a Super Bowl team? Well, because they beat the Vikings? No, they're not a Super Bowl team. The expectation of the Jets is, hey, can we make the playoffs? Well, yeah. Right now you're holding on to the final playoff spot. So the expectations are completely different, and they get viewed that way. I'm not viewing them that way. The loss yesterday it doesn't show me anything about the Jets. Do I believe any more in the Jets this week than I did last week? No, I believe the exact same.
And that's why right now for my team, my expectation is I just want us to get get to 8 wins. That's all. I'll be happy with that, Deeks. I really would. 8 to 7 wins. I'll be excited. I'll be happy because how terrible this offensive line is. Isaiah Wynn, countless Andrews always hurt. Damian Harris always hurt. This dumbass play calling we got. I would be excited for 8-win season. We had 10 to 7 last year. I'm good with down years, Deets. We've been dominating the AFC for a long while, Deets. I'm okay with a down year, a couple years. I'm okay with it, Deets.
You have to have.
You can't always get rainbows and lollipops.
You have to have down. You have to have down year. You have to have down years in the NFL. In the NFL, you have to have down years, and you have to make them count. You have to make those down years count when it matters in the draft. That's how you get good players in the draft. You get good players in the draft by having a down year and having a good look at the San Francisco 49ers. How did they get Nick Bosa? Oh, they had one. They had the second pick. They had the second worst record in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. Then they got Nick Bosa, and they were that good. They were good again. Then Nick Bosa gets injured, and they had a really good draft pick again. That's how teams get good in the NFL. Is if you're always 8-8, if you're always in the middle of the pack, well, you're always drafting in the middle of the first round. You're not getting the elite players. You're getting the pretty good players.
And projects a lot of times.
Yeah. So,
but
that's why it doesn't matter right now how your team's doing. But the thing is, I'll ask you, and I'll answer this. If I were to ask you, who's going to make the playoff? Who do you believe will make the playoffs more, the Patriots or the Jets?
I think the Jets don't have a chance.
I think the Patriots.
Better chance.
I think the Patriots have a better path to the playoffs than the Jets do.
Yeah, but
and
let the people know when
the Patriots have a guy who they know is their quarterback. The Jets have Mike White. The key. They have Mike White, who everybody says, "Oh, we think this guy's going to be our quarterback." Mike White played great in one game, and when the game was on his shoulders yesterday, what did he do? Threw an interception in the end zone.
Exactly. But Deets, let the people know what time the show is going to be this Thursday.
Fifth Down Sports Show Thursday, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going back to the late. That way, if we do end up doing the show a little bit earlier, we're okay, but at least we're doing a 9 o'clock. And I do apologize. I was going to do a show this week. I was going to do a show last Thursday, but then I looked at it and I said, why am I doing a show for this meaningless championship weekend? And I said, I'm not rushing a show for this because championship weekend was so meaningless. But we're going to talk about that on Thursday because we have so much to talk about this Thursday that it doesn't matter. We're doing a show. We're doing a show no matter what time. No matter what time, we have enough content to get through the show. So,
and I appreciate you, Deez, coming on and, man, holding the fort down while I had to do something. I appreciate you.
absolutely.
And it's been another day. It's been a crazy Monday edition of talking about the weekend, the crazy weekend. And this has been another episode of Midday Sports with Rod and Lunch Crew / Fifth Down Sports helping out. And I hope y'all have a good rest of y'all day. Enjoy the weather, the cold weather of the East if you're in the East, or the warm weather in the West. And I hope y'all have a good day. And we're out.